dames en heren, ik zei net al, we gaan nu luisteren niet naar een verhaal over web analytics, maar naar Tara Hunt. En ik kan u vertellen, dat is een bijzondere dame. Sterker nog, als u goed heeft opgelet, dan heeft u gezien dat zij ook de keynote verzorgt. Zeker nog de afsluitende keynote in de grote zaal. Nou, dan moet je wel wat in je mars hebben. De reden dat zij nu hier staat, is om ons iets te vertellen over Barcamp. Wat het precies is, nou ja, daarvoor is ze hier, dus we gaan er naar voren halen. Miss Hunt, would you come up to the stage or the center? Miss Tara Hunt has her own company. It's called Citizen Agency. She also is the author of the blog with a brilliant name called Horse, Pig, Cow. And I was told she also had some Dutch roots. Is that correct?
It is correct. My mother's side is Dutch. My family comes from Bersenhoek, is where most of them come from, but they're all spread over, including in Rotterdam.
Werner Vogels, he was here last year, the CTO from Amazon. He spoke some Dutch words to the audience. Did you have some words?
Alsjeblieft. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, ik niet spreek Hollands, maar ik verstaan een klein beetje. It's very bad.
Is het nog steeds goed te verstaan aan alle kanten? Yeah. Great. Well, you're here to talk about Barcamp. Originally what we wanted to do was to organize a Barcamp right here in Rotterdam during Eday, but one thing we learned, Emerce learned, was that a Barcamp doesn't like to be over-organized. So we thought, hey, let's get the expert, let's get Miss Hunt to tell us what a Barcamp is, and let's see if we can organize one in the near future, say October or November, and maybe tonight. Let's see. Without further ado, applaus for Tara Hunt alsjeblieft.
So as Jim mentioned, this presentation was put together basically yesterday, as I was asked, sort of right as I left San Francisco to come to Rotterdam if I would put together a Barcamp. So originally the question was whether I could run a Barcamp in 40 minutes. Anybody here been to a Barcamp? Anybody? A couple of Barcampers. Anybody here heard of Barcamp? There's a couple more. All right, so for those of you who have been to a Barcamp or have heard of Barcamp, basically I had to explain to Jim that if I said that this was a Barcamp and I stood up here and talked to you guys about Barcamp, I would be lynched by the Barcamp community. Because Barcamp isn't about a talking head standing on stage telling everybody else what to do. Barcamp is a grassroots movement. So instead I decided that I put together a little presentation about what is Barcamp, the impact of Barcamp, basically why it should matter to you, even as both business and as a personal, and then also give you a bit of a call to action, which Jim already alluded to. So first of all, the story of Barcamp. So anybody heard of Tim O'Reilly? Tim O'Reilly Publishing? Yeah, there's more people. Now every year, there's no picture up here? There's no picture up here? Okay, is there no picture anywhere? Oh yeah, there's a picture here. Okay, so Tim O'Reilly, there's not much on the slides anyways on this one. So it's not like Rolf's. Rolf's is like, you had to see Rolf's slides. But anyways, Tim O'Reilly has this really cool exclusive camp every year he calls Foo Camp, Friends of O'Reilly. And so he'd invite basically all of his speakers and his publishers and fancy people to Foo Camp. And they would go and basically they had this really cool model where they had an empty grid and everybody there filled in on that empty grid what they were going to talk about, and all sorts of amazing ideas would come out of Foo Camp. Well, I think 3 or 4 years after it started, bloggers, blogging was really getting popular, and bloggers started to say, well, geez, why can't we go to Foo Camp? This sounds like it's really cool. And so people were complaining a little bit on their blogs, and there was a group of people, including these 5 guys, Tontik Celik, Andy what's Andy's last name? Termy, anyways, he worked at Flock. Chris Messina, Ryan King, and Matt Mullenweg, who you might recognize from WordPress, who got together, as well as Aristasi, who was missing for that picture because she had to go home early that night. And they got together and they said, well, why can't we do the same? Like, why are we waiting for an invitation to boot camp, which is not scalable, when we just have the ability to do it ourselves? And Tontek also had been part of boot camp in years before. He had been invited, so he had the insider knowledge of exactly what had gone on. So Eris put together this really nifty logo, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's like the flame from a campfire with Wi-Fi inside of it. And they called up a bunch of people and found a space at Social Text in offices in Palo Alto, and started blogging about it, and got some sponsors together for food, and set up this grid, and people camped out. And it took 6 days to organize, 6 planners, 200 people showed up after 6 days of planning. They were featured in Wired magazine, and the best part of it is that people around the world watched this happen, watched it come together and said, geez, if these 6 clowns in Silicon Valley can put this together, why can't I? Which is really the coolest part of Barcamp. So the next Barcamp took place in Amsterdam. Now, I won't say it until the end, but there's been one in Rotterdam. So the next one was in Amsterdam, and they've had several now in Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, we took place around another O'Reilly event called EuroOzCon. I don't know if any of you have been to EuroOzCon, but they didn't have any they had cut out the provisions for the the free space for the poor Drupal developers, etc. So they decided to do another Barcamp in Amsterdam, and it was covered in the BBC news, and it was really big. So basically, this started this huge billowing of Barcamps taking place all around the world. Now, at this point, you're thinking, well, this is all really cool, but what is Barcamp anyways? So I'll show you a little video.
Barcamp was a response to Boot Camp, which is an event by O'Reilly where they invite some of their best friends to come in for the weekend and just kind of hang out and geek out essentially for the weekend. And we decided we can do that too. We kind of make this up as you go. So we don't have a preset schedule. Like when you show up, this is the schedule. You actually accept the schedule when you get there.
We start with an empty program grid the whole day, and we fill out the different slots. Everyone just fills out whatever they want to talk about, picks the slot, and goes. And the whole thing kind of organically evolves.
No matter where you are in the world, you can run your own Barcamp. So you just look at the wiki and you go, oh, well, they did this and this and this, and I'm going to do the same.
We'll take geeks of all kinds. You gotta be geeks of some kind. I mean, seriously.
In certain cities, like in Toronto and New York and Bangalore, where we've been, the Barcamp actually started entire communities. I didn't think there was a geek community in Toronto. I left there and thought, well, maybe 1 or 2 people. Well, there's 400 people that gather on a regular basis in Toronto. Who knew? And this is what Barcamp does.
There's self-organized sessions that come together where people will talk about something that they're passionate about or that they're good at or they know something about, and essentially have a conversation about it with other people.
Being able to be around people with a variety of skills, interests, knowledge, and an environment where you can really, to me, this is my experience, really be able to discuss any project, any initiatives, brainstorm, get new ideas, bounce off each other.
And I think the strength of the internet really is the strength of community. And so, I mean, there are a lot of geeks here, but there are a lot of people who, there's a lot of people who aren't coders, like myself. They're video people, there's marketing people, I'm sure, and companies do want to get in on it, but I think companies are also waking up and realizing that if they embrace the community, right, and help share the resources they have with the community, then the community will embrace them.
People with passion, idea, creativity, excitement, energy, and they need to be, just a little bit supported with little things like having a place to gather in order to be able to better
the 10 months since the first Barcamp, there have been now, I think this is the 31st or the 32nd Barcamp that's happened around the world, which is pretty amazing. And we've been involved in the organization of 2.
We the Geeks hereby declare that we have the means to do it ourselves. So from this point forward, we are not employee 965362 or 463-871. We're talented and sought after individuals who can and will find the means to break free of your cubicles and ivory towers. We don't give a damn if you have the intention of 10 billion sticky eyeballs. We don't give a shit about sticky eyeballs. We give a shit about people. We're independent, empowered, and fucking engaged.
So that's our baby. That's Barcamp, and that video was shot just over a year ago. And I'll give you some stats on how it's grown since then. Let me tell you, it's significant. So the kind of things that you need to actually throw a Barcamp are pretty simple. You need an empty grid. So we were talking about the empty grid, you know, a sheet of paper, or some people have used panes of glass with tape across and sticky notes to put in their different sessions. You need a space, definitely, whether it's, you know, a lot of different companies like Microsoft and Yahoo and Google have given us their space for the weekend without any sort of strings attached. They just said, come use our space. Wi-Fi, you know, most of them, if you get a space like that, you get Wi-Fi included. It's preferable, but not necessary. We've actually had Barcamps without Wi-Fi, heaven forbid. And people, of course, present or virtual, and I'll show you a really cool example of a virtual Barcamp. And then a willingness to risk, because it is a risk, and it's a lot of work to put it together, but it's super, super rewarding. Now, there's a couple of rules around Barcamp. Now, we don't like to be all top down about these things, but some people have called things that are Barcamps, that are not Barcamps, Barcamps. So we have some rules, is, you know, you do talk about Barcamp, blog about Barcamp, talk about what's going on. Generally, there's people blogging, live blogging every session that's going on. If you want to present, you must write your topic and name of the presentation on the grid. If the grid runs out of space, do it yourself. We've seen grids expand exponentially and infinitely, basically, at Barcamps. As many presentations at a time as the facilities allow for. That means people have even presented in the hallways, outside, on a picnic table, that sort of thing. No pre-scheduled presentations. This is really important. This is what happens at regular conferences, not at Barcamps. So basically, you can suggest what you want to talk about, get feedback on that, but ultimately, it's the day of that it's actually comes together. And that if this is your first Barcamp, you have to speak. Well, we're a little more relaxed than that, because some people find it hard to get up and speak in front of an audience. So what we do is we say, okay, maybe you don't have to speak, but you have to help a presenter in some way, shape, or form. Take some notes, ask lots of questions, that sort of thing. So what I was alluding to earlier was the impact of Barcamp. So why should this matter to you? Like, this sounds all sweet, and that's nice, and, you know, the nice little grassroots doing some work on their own. But it's happened all around the world. In places like, you know, Brussels, Portland, Shanghai just had its second, Bangalore, Delhi, all over India, definitely. Vancouver, they did geek yoga there. It's a very West Coast thing to do. Milan, and all over Italy. Actually, Italy has about an average of 2 Barcamps a month right now. They even had a Barcamp called Lost Camp there, where they talked about the show Lost. Paris has had several, and then this was our second anniversary that happened this summer in Palo Alto. We call it Barcamp Block. We had 700 people show up over the weekend to the Barcamp there, and it scaled. We didn't think it would scale. It's a free camp. People come, we try to feed them with sponsors, and it was a lot of work, but it definitely scaled. There have been now, just after 2 years, more than 300 Barcamps on 5 continents and over 250 cities worldwide. So when I talked in the video, that was me with the with shorter hair, I was saying, you know, 31, isn't that great? You know, that's significant. Well, here we are. Now we're seeing this weekend alone, there's 3 Barcamps going on. So every weekend there's 2 to 3 Barcamps at a time. that are going on. And there's also been lots of really cool Barcamp deviations. So this is the virtual one that I was talking about. Barcamp Second Life. We've had several Barcamp Second Lives that even make their own t-shirts. This is one of the courses that they have. In Egypt, they had Toon Camp, where they talked about digital media, etc. We started something called Wine Camp, which is technology and nonprofits, and it takes place in a vineyard. And France, of course, picked it up, and they've had Wine Camp as well in Burgundy. And then Transit Camp, which I'll show you a little video of later, which I think is really significant when it comes to, you know, the being a citizen of a country, and you'll see exactly what this means to the future planning. And then we've got the iPhone Dev Camp, which happened this summer at Adobe, and it was huge. About 3 weeks after the iPhone came out, they had this iPhone Dev Camp. I think it was something like 60 apps were built that weekend for the iPhone, including the start of the Facebook iPhone app. Pretty cool stuff happening there. And Wolf Camp, where feminist writers get together. It's Virginia Woolf, and this is them dancing. And so people can, you know, you can see in Cook Camp here, you can see that you know, it's not just about the geeks, right? As Ryan had said in the video, it's also can be used in many different ways. We've seen photography camp, art camp, that sort of thing. Now, Barcamp is also a favorite of the US and the European press as well. This is Net Magazine, but it's been in several magazines like Wired and in the Wall Street Journal, etc., etc. Papers all over the world. This is a Chinese newspaper that talked about how Barcamp is invading China. This was the BBC shot. I didn't get the clip. I couldn't find it, but this is Chris Messina, my partner in crime and one of the founders of Barcamp. And here's the Toronto Transit Camp. This is going to have to be really turned up.
Today to find out what they hope to do to improve the better way.
You've heard of summer camp, boot camp, but transit camp?
So Transit Camp is an opportunity to get a whole bunch of people together who are really creative in one place for a day and ask them to solve a difficult problem. In this case, how can we help the TTC make their website better?
Next set of photos are from the original TTC documents.
Those creative people include designers, visual artists, tech geeks, and bloggers who all met online.
Well, I think what's pretty interesting is that a lot of people got online on blogs, and they really kind of came together and came up with an idea to have this event. And you see something go from the internet to an actual person-to-person conference that's happening here in Toronto.
Ideas are flying not only about the TTC's website, but also about photography, music, and visual art, all making the better way even better. Now, you won't hear any of these people talking about what they don't like about the TTC. Organizers say complainers are not allowed.
This is not a complaints line, it's a solutions playground. No, everyone who signed up on the website actually agreed to a pledge today that they were going to keep it a positive environment. And it's been fantastic.
So positive that representatives of the TTC took notes.
When we started to redesign the website, we put that on hold until we could actually do more of the consulting with the blogging community, because they're the online community. It makes sense. They know what they're talking about.
If you've got fresh ideas on how to make the TTC an even better way, or if you'd like to find out what was discussed at today's Transit Camp, log on to our website, citynews.ca. From Transit Central at Gladstone Hotel, I'm Melissa Grello, Sydney.
So as you can see, this has also been really useful for e-government sort of learning. It's gathering citizens together, concerned citizens that, you know, really want input into the system with government officials, bureaucrats, and having them brainstorm together. It's the ultimate in that whole, you know, crowdsourcing kind of idea that goes on. And what's really cool is a lot of big companies are now calling us up and saying, like Oracle and Cisco and these companies that have been closed-doored forever are calling us up and going, okay, so we see the value in this. We want to do this. Like, how can we open up? Can you help us? And it's really promising to see this going on. So here are some Barcamp stats. There have been, as I said earlier, over 300 Barcamps worldwide. We actually lost track because we had some vandalism on our wiki at one point, so there might have been even more, but we've lost track, but we know of 300 plus. There have been, if you go into Flickr and you search for the tag Barcamp, there's almost 40,000 photos taken at Barcamps. There's over 46,000 blog posts tagged Barcamp. There's over 25,000 people in the world that have been to Barcamp, and this is just taking the average of 75 people per Barcamp and 300 Barcamps, so it might be higher. And there's over 326 videos on YouTube currently. So that's a lot of media that is created around this grassroots organization. It just turned 2 years old this summer. 2 years, totally grassroots, no money, no advertising, none of that's gone on. Purely word of mouth. This is really powerful, and it's only the beginning. So some things that have come from Barcamp, some emerging Barcamp projects, as you saw the dev camps, with like the iPhone dev camp. We're doing eGov dev camps now around the world. New Zealand is having one this weekend, and their government of New Zealand, the federal government there, is opening up their doors to actually start open their APIs, like government data APIs, and actually build apps on top of it to help the citizens access their own data. That's really huge, and I don't know how you deal with that in the Netherlands, but it's something that's a big concern in the States. So we've now been asked, we're going to be doing in Washington, D.C. in December an eGov dev camp, which we're going to be doing the same thing, is opening up people's data, health data, other sort of education data, all sorts of other government services, and talking about the implications of that. So that's also an opportunity. Green Dev Camp, Google's opened its doors. We're doing a sustainable sort of dev camp, talking about what we can do with technology to make for a better future environmentally. And then co-working. I encourage you guys to look up coworking.info. It's the natural sort of spin-off of Barcamp, where these communities have sprung up all around the world, basically out of Barcamp. And what's happened now is they're saying, okay, so now what? We've had these great events, and we get together like once every 6 months or once every 3 months. Some of them do a monthly thing. But every day we go back and we work out of our coffee shops and we work out of our living rooms, and nothing's changed in our lives. So co-working is basically a bunch of people coming together, going together in on a space, an affordable office space, independents working together. It's the mixture of cafe culture and office, the best of office, so that you have a professional space. And we've opened 2 in San Francisco. There was one in Denver. There's one opening in Paris pretty soon. There's Vancouver, Toronto, Seattle. We just opened one we attended the opening of one, because it's just like Barcamp, it's a starfish organization. I don't organize everything. The original founders don't organize everything. We just give people the tools to do it. So we just attended the opening in Philadelphia and in New York as well. There's several spaces there. So there's 100 spaces right now in progress. I don't think there's one in Rotterdam as of yet, but there's a space in Amsterdam in progress. So here's the call to action. Barcamp Rotterdam. There's no reason why Rotterdam can't have a Barcamp. So I'm giving you some instructions here. And the first piece and the first step basically is claim your stake on the wiki. Jim, is that something that has been done thus far?
Created the page already.
Excellent.
Blank right now.
Excellent. So you have a blank page under barcamp.org/Barcamp Rotterdam with the camel case. It's always camel case. There's a sort of a history of that. There's like a little write-up on the website. You add, if you're interested, add your name to the page, start talking about a date, pull together sponsors. I'm sure there's some sponsors in this room. The maximum sponsorship level in every Barcamp is $300, so it's really accessible for everyone. And the whole point of that is to try to pull together a lot of smaller sponsors so nobody feels like they're not contributing or nobody feels like they own the event, that it's very, very grassroots still, and throw a bar camp. So that's it. If anybody has any questions.
I was a little bit late, so maybe you've told it in the beginning, but what is your business model as a group?
Oh, okay. So I'm a consultant, a community marketing consultant. We have a business different than Barcamp. Barcamp is totally not-for-profit. We never charge. If we do charge anything, it just goes right into the event. It's something small, like $15 to make sure that people show up. That's it. So yes, there's no business model on here, but let me tell you, as a consultant, all the goodness I put into the community, I get back tenfold from startups and etc. Saying, hey, you don't only talk the talk about marketing in the community marketing, you walk the walk. So that's sort of.
Ms. Hunter also has a keynote in the big.
Where I'll be talking about the community.
Next question, please.
Is there like one place where you collaborate all the knowledge that, all the inventions, I guess, that come out of the Barcamp?
That's a really great idea. There's been many, many startups come out of Barcamp. In fact, the first Barcamp, TechCrunch was launched. Everybody knows TechCrunch, right? Is there a TechCrunch in the Netherlands now? I think it's, the biggest tech blog. And Pandora, I don't know if you guys know of Pandora. Pandora was launched at the first, and Flock was launched at the first Barcamp. It's a very good idea to do that. It's something we put out to the community, but, it doesn't always get done.
Some real good invention get invented at a certain Barcamp. Who owns it?
Sorry?
Let's just say I come up with like the next Facebook, all right? And I'm at this Barcamp with these other people. We come up with it. Who owns it?
Who owns it? Well, I guess it depends on your own thoughts on that. I mean, you can make it proprietary after that point, but that's not really in the spirit of Barcamp. Well, we do use Creative Commons for everything that we can, but like Pandora, for instance, launched at Barcamp, but they didn't use a Creative Commons license on their stuff. So some people launch their business or come up with business models or come up with ideas during Barcamp, keep it to themselves, launch it, keep it proprietary. That's kind of a sad thing, but the whole point is to create as many entrepreneurs, I think, as possible. So until we get to the point that everybody can feel like free and open, that's, I think, going to happen.
So I also know that there have been several podcamps, Barcamps talking about podcasting. When I look at this side of the room, I see 1, 2, 3, 4 Twitter screens. You think it's an idea to organize a Twitter camp?
I think there's been a small Twitter camp that was organized, where was it? At South by Southwest, I think it was. It was only a half day though. But yeah, Twitter camp would be fun, but I think it would be better instead of, making it just about Twitter, although that's very cool, you can do a Twitter dev camp, maybe expand it out to be more of a presence camp, because presence is something very much that's emerging as a really awesome technology and meme that, is going forward.
So if we would like to do this in the Netherlands, it would be Barcamp Rotterdam or Barcamp Utrecht or Amsterdam the third, then we would organize it as a Barcamp and also ask the Twitter community and the podcasting, anyone to come to that Barcamp to bring their passion.
Right.
That will be the right way.
Right, absolutely. You can start that way, or if the podcasters want to start a podcamp is...
there are only 3 of us.
Yeah, there's a slightly different model in podcamp. They've made it a little bit more structured. That's why they don't call it Barcamp podcast, is because they do structure it a little bit more than Barcamp does. But it's still it's an open, very inexpensive model.
Right.
Are there also examples of game camps for gamers and game development?
That would be really cool. I'm still waiting for a World of Warcraft camp, and I'm so all over that one.
I think the first one will be in Utrecht, so anyone in this crowd will...
Have you set a date yet?
Yeah, I think at the end of November. No date yet, but if anybody is interested, please contact me and we'll organize it.
Cool. Excellent. So we have a second one now.
You gotta
Anybody
add
else?
to the
Anybody
wiki.
from this side want to start another podcast?
More questions, initiatives. So we're going to set a date, right? Right now. in Dutch. Wie zou er niet bij aanwezig willen zijn? Laten we dat even vragen. Everybody wants to join.
Excellent. I can see that, jumping out of your seats. Well, you know, after you attend your first Barcamp and you kind of get over like the jitters of, oh my God, do I have to speak and all that stuff, and you realize that you're just amongst your peers and it's just like every day meeting at a coffee shop and talking about the great ideas that you already do, except for you're bringing people from a wider distance, then what's going to happen is the rest of you are going to be standing up in front of conferences like this, you know, ready to speak. I mean, I started at Barcamp. That's where my speaking career started, was at Barcamp. And lots of people that I know. So, and before, believe me, I would be like sweating and absolutely, I'd lose my voice. I'd be like, in front of people in Barcamp really helped me realize my own potential. And this is what I really love. You see a light bulb go off for people when they go to Barcamps and when they go, oh my God, yeah, it's inside of me. I can do this. And that's what I think the power is of Barcamp. And I hope it unleashes a lot of people.
We're going to witness that later this day. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to discuss during your keynote?
Yeah, my keynote is about community marketing. Basically, we teach a lot of our clients on how to build relationships rather than, you know, stop yelling at people and actually do that in a scalable manner and why that is important. That's what I'm talking about this afternoon. And a concept called woofie. And I don't know if anybody's heard of woofie.
Start with what?
Woofie.
Woofie?
Yeah, you can look it up on Wikipedia. Yeah.
No, tell us, please.
I can't tell you until the presentation this afternoon. It's a big surprise, unless you look it up on Wikipedia this afternoon.
Okay. I guess anybody in this room will be attending your keynote. Your final chance for a question for Ms. Hunt. Otherwise, I'm going to thank you for being here, and please give her a big hand. Ms. Stella Hunt. Het is nu lunchtijd.